amazing family. This is Hadija from the Parenting Mindset Shift, the place for parents to find clarity, confidence, peace, and joy in their parenting journey. And today I want to talk about standard and support. So, this is something that I will be personally thinking about within the context of my parenting journey. And I wanted to share about the different concept of principle in regard to standard. So most of the time in our parenting journey, we have that perception of feeling that we have to lower our standard to match our kids or to match whatever is the situation. And I think when I came to think about the topic of standard, I think we have to think in a different perspective, and I wanted to share that with you, and maybe you can also comment and tell me what you think about it. So this is just a reflection about what I will be thinking about this week with my kids and my parenting journey. So when we talk about the different type of parenting, we have this perception, we immediately have a judgment of what we think it is. So if I said to you gentle parenting, some of you may react it may be like, oh, this is way too permissive. The child is king and I don't want to do that. But in reality, we didn't really take the time to fully understand what is that whole concept of gentle parenting is. And I'm not saying this is something that I personally do every day, but I'm saying that we have those perception of immediately judging what we think it is. And thinking that it's being too permissive, it's to lower your standard, it's to make sure that the child is a king in the house and they rule everything. And when we have the other type of parenting that is more like you do, as I said, is this one is too restrictive. We just need to take the time to not even pay attention of those type, but thinking of what we want personally. So here, when I talk about standard, I want to make sure that we understand that when we have a high standard at home, we also provide high support. And that's where I want to focus on. And the very simple example that I want to give is if at work, in a workplace, our bosses is asking us to do something, and the boss or the company has a high standard in the thing that they provide for the customer. We want to make sure that we have all the support to be able to do the job. A simple thing is, you want me to send an email? Is the Wi-Fi work at work? If the Wi-Fi doesn't work, you're not providing me the support that I need to provide that high standard. So are we making sure that we have a high standard? Okay, that's fair, but do we provide the high support within those contexts? And I think this is something to just think about, because sometimes we don't even know what kind of support is needed for the kind of standard we set. Or if we do, do we know how to convey that to our children to make sure that they understand that they do have the support, and we communicate in a way that they understand that the support is there, and that's why the standard is here. And I think the parenting style is really about those things. It's not about necessarily being permissive or being too authoritarian. It's about what kind of standard do you have and what kind of support do you provide with that standard. And of course, the Wi-Fi example is very simplistic, but it's the reality of our workplace. At our workplace, we have demand and expectation, but then sometimes the support is not here to be able to do the work. So I want us to reflect on those type of example and making sure that at home we provide the support that they want. So of course, if we want them to be academically well, and if we know that our children having challenges in different area, and do we know what kind of student is our child, what kind of type of learning is their style, so then do we match that kind of learning to be the support. So if we know that our child is really hands-on, is that the kind of house we are doing to be able to teach properly and to be able to provide the support that they need to understand certain concepts? and which is really the one of the things that as a parents, when we have the privilege and the opportunity to choose the school that our kids can go, of course, in that context, when we have this privilege to choose, we are thinking of what kind of education are they going to provide for my child? Are they going to have all the different support because my child, for instance, have this and this condition? Are they do they have the resources? So we want to put all those contexts at home. Do we have the support? And of course, and I'm talking about emotional support, spiritual support, physical support, mental support, all of those aspects. Are we putting that as high as the standard? Because if it's not the case, we are not to expect them to be there. So let's reflect on the way we parent in that area. And that's going, like I said, this is something that I wanted to share because this is something that I really want to go a little bit deeper. I was, of course, working on those aspects, but I never really thought about the combination of the standard with the support. And I think by thinking like that, I will be more paying more attention of the child and all those aspects that I need the standard to be high on, like academically or in sports or in social, in community, in all those aspects. So if I want my kids to be generous, if I want my kids to be a giver, do I give that kind of support? Am I that kind of person that is also going to help a community, to give to the people in need? Do I do that for my kids to become that person? And that's the kind of support that I want us to think. If I want my child to be spiritual, to follow the faith that I am following, so am I doing all the prayers? Am I going to the mosque? And am I doing the learning in that process? Am I giving that support so then the standard can be here? If I don't pray, and it's an example, I cannot possibly be angry and upset if my child doesn't pray. It needs to match. The support and the standard needs to match. So you standard, you support, and who you are, become it. And I think it's really important to me for us to understand that it always start with us. It always start with us. How are we matching? And I think the frustration, the anger comes from the fact that we are not matching this. We feel like we need to lower our standard, and then we living against this standard diminish, and we have resentment and anger and frustration. But instead of focusing on the fact that we are lowering our standard, let's focus on the fact that, okay, what kind of support can I provide to make sure that my standards stay high? And that's pretty much it for today. So the Shred Connection this week is for you to reflect on those. Your standards are high. How is your support level? In all level of your parenting journey, in all aspects of your child. And like I said, academically, we want to talk about sports and activities or extracurricular activity. It doesn't have to be sports. And spiritually and mentally and emotionally, we make sure that this kid is as a whole completely in the standard that we would love to have and see. So making sure that you reflect on those aspects and making sure that it's matching. So that's pretty much my thought for this week. And I thank you again. Subscribe to the channel and I will see you next week. Bye bye. Au revoir.